Kieran, I have a job for you later in this thing. You'll be thrilled to find out about it just as it happens.
Sounds good.
Okay, you are now live.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tammy. So moving along, getting started on a good note. I think the first thing on the agenda was budget. Tammy, do you know where we are with that? I mean, the exact numbers aren't necessary, but if you have them, that's great.
Yes. So, well, we know that the budget amount is 37,500. That's the total amount. What has been allocated is $27,250. So that's leaving $10,250 left in the.
Perfect. So, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. And that makes sense. And as all of you will understand later in this meeting, we have another allocation motion coming forward, which is why I wanted to make sure that we nailed down exactly where we were in the budget. So, all right, moving forward from that, the legacy fund really nothing has changed. The fact that I've decided to move it up and get it started, it's a procedural decision, and I've needed to get started with that. I can tell you, having met with Mark, and with Sarah Ingram, we now have the final contract for that. As you may recall, back before COVID, Mark and I had found some concerns about running a contract with the Barrie Community Foundation the way it was originally structured with everyone else, because we didn't have access to our money initially. There was an upside limitation to it. And since we have no idea from year to year how many financially challenged young people will be involved, we couldn't have that type of upside limit. So we've negotiated through that. And actually, to be fair, it wasn't a negotiation. Sarah just found the solution, and we identified the problem. Sarah found the solution, and it works perfectly. So that's in its final stages. We have it now. It needed some tinkering. And so I will be now sending that to Wendy Cook and the mayor. And actually, Tammy or Barry, one of the two of you can correct me if I'm wrong. Wendy, as the clerk, is still the principal signatory for all legal contracts for the city. Am I correct?
Yes, she binds the corporation.
Okay, so I'm going to the right people. The mayor, obviously, for his edification, and
actually, you can, Dave, you can send it to me if you'd like, and I can coordinate that if you'd like to send that agreement with the mayor and the clerk. All
right, cool. Once you start coordinating that, though, please copy Mark and I on all of that so that we're aware of what stage it's in, please. All right, that's great. Thank you very much. Actually, and include a copy to Barry, because he's been integral in this process. And just because Barry's no longer the main man for us all doesn't mean he shouldn't be included in this process. So, okay, and bear with me. Whoops, give me 2 seconds. Right. And I just lost you entirely. What have I done? Oh no, there you are. Sorry, I had to go look at the agenda. So, and now it's the international web situation that's on the agenda. Obviously, it's been launched. We've had some comments. This would be a good time to make my suggestion to Kieran. So, my suggestion that I just thought of actually yesterday after having seen you was that we actually left a couple of those things that had been sent to us, some from the community and some from members of council. You responded to them all while I was in Mexico, and it just therefore became something I thought of as being done. But some of them actually weren't done. They were just, we'll get back to you type things. The ones that involved stuff like the cameras and some of those other ones, I'm wondering if you, over the next couple of months, if you could reach out to the people you worked with in our tech department and find out what our capabilities are and whether they could or should be incorporated into our web. And that way, even if the answer is no, we can get back to the people that asked us or that suggested to us. We can get back to them with a response that shows that we took their requests seriously. Can you mind taking a look at that for us?
Yeah, I was actually just gonna bring that up. What's it called? The biggest one we discussed last time, kind of as a committee, was the streaming cameras. And essentially, I talked to the people in charge of that, and a lot of them are used for traffic cameras. Some of them, I wouldn't say we should put all of them kind of on the website. Some of them were a bit interesting. One was just of a straight pole, I think, at East Bayfield. So I don't know how particularly useful that one would be, but I also did look into potentially using like our own camera or trying to buy one. I don't know how much setup would cost. The camera, I think, would be roughly $200 to $500, depending on, what state of quality we want it at and kind of how long we want it to last. Various things about that. And then also the labor cost and kind of who would upkeep it. That's also potential concerns for the actual streaming camera. As for the actual, like the images that update every 5 minutes, there's a couple good ones. Like there's one that has a bright view of the lake that we could potentially put into the website. I would have to kind of do a bit more research on how to actually integrate that. I just wanted to know if there was some interest in that. There were a couple other like smaller suggestions towards the actual website. And Maury, thank you for reminding me, because we do need to talk about those. But just a couple of the big ones. A lot of people really liked the leadership, or what's it called? I keep calling it the leadership fund, but the what's
Legacy?
it called? Legacy fund, yes. What's it called? So a lot of people kind of wanted that one to be a bit bigger. And I remember we put that huge button at the bottom of the homepage. And I think the problem is it kind of looks like it's part of the background. So I just need to think of a clever way to kind of make that become a button, like more appealing as a button. And then another one was links to the actual websites of the other partner cities. And that one's a bit of a tricky one, because technically, if it's attached to our website, it has to abide by the Ontario regulations. And I'm pretty sure one of those regulations is that it has to be like in French as well. And I would assume German. I'll have to email them about kind of how accessible the other sites are, because I know that was one of the things when we were going through with the link to the Legacy Fund webpage, I think, on the City of Barrie. So there's a couple things that need to be sorted out there, but you and I can kind of discuss that. And if there's any big changes that we think we can bring into the committee, we can kind of bring them up at the next meeting. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's deal with the suggestions and stuff first and foremost. People, one of the ideas with regard to the camera, I mean, the one at Wasaga Beach runs 24/7, and unless it's knocked out by a storm, in which case they have the answer they want. But it literally is at the main end and looks down the beach and onto the water. So it shows you kind of a long view of the beach and the water. Maybe doing something as simple as the lake, the one we have facing the water with a nice view of the bay and the lake, maybe that's sufficient. What are other people's thoughts? Or are there any?
No. I like
Let
the
me
one
rephrase.
with the bay, Dave.
Mhm.
I mean, that is the jewel of our city, right?
It makes sense. I mean, it's
Our
easy.
water-
Anything else?
I used to go on one that used to overlook the lake and then City Hall and then down that road at City Hall, and there was like 4 cameras. I don't know if that's still around or not off of one site.
Yeah, so I can I'll try and find that link. And there is one it's essentially a picture that updates every 2 or 3 minutes. Where is that email?
The one that I was talking about is live. I used to try and get it to see what the weather was like when I was down in Toronto, so I wouldn't know what I'm driving into.
By the way, that's the entire purpose of the one at Wasaga Beach, for people to decide whether to come up to the beach or not.
Yeah. I'm trying to find it on my bookmarks.
It's called webcams. Barrie webcams. It's on top of City Hall and it's every 15 minutes.
Yeah. That sounds great.
Maybe that's the one we're talking about. Anyway, Karen, can I make a suggestion? Maybe we can just leave this with you and you can get the answers that we need with the thought that we have. And I would say, unless I hear an objection, that we empower you to work with the tech people to create that link if it's possible. Make sense?
Are we talking the link to the picture?
I'm talking to the camera, the webcam component, whether it's the one at City Hall looking out or the one down at the lake. I don't care which one. The idea of doing something to resolve that, if it's possible to do, we've already agreed that we like the idea. I'm just going to leave it with you and with the suggestions from Lou and Rob. See what you can work out in talking it over with the tech people. Okay.
Okay. My only clarification that I just want to kind of make sure that everything is kind of crystal clear here is, do we want a new camera that's doing a live stream video, or just the one that's already up, just doing the picture?
If we're doing, actually, that's a great question. Do we want a live stream constant, or do you want one that's like, as I believe what I was just told by Rob and Lou, is that the City Hall one is a different picture every 15 minutes.
Yeah, I would say that you go with the City Hall one and not spend. If it's there, it overlooks the lake and everything is.
Okay, so a stationary picture rather than a live stream is fine by you folks.
Yeah.
Okay, then I guess that's what you're going with.
Because what are they going on for? They're going on just to see what the city looks like. So.
Okay, all right. Perfect. Thank you very much. And Kieran, the other ones that you were talking about, we can look at together over the summer at some point. Okay.
Dave, if I can,
Yeah.
I would like to add, having coming back, we did resend the website to all these new people we met, and they were basically blown away at the quality of our website. So Kieran, hats off to you for a job well done. I mean, yes, everybody around.
Kudos.
Thank you.
They were absolutely
job.
blown away with the quality of our website. So just thank you.
Thank you so much.
Kieran, I'm not doing this 2 days in a row. You got all the applause from me yesterday, so consider it done. All right, folks, moving on. The next one up is Murayama.
So I don't have a report at this time, but now that Hiromi, you're coming back, if once you're settled, if you and I and Patty and Shannon can get together, we can start doing the communication for 2023.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because everybody's eager to. I know Japan is ready to go for 2023, and I think we're going to have a great year. So,
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
super.
I love how Mark's already replaced me. All right. Youth ambassadors. So neither Shannon or Jamie are with us tonight. Shannon's in Victoria, British Columbia, attending a lifeguard thing at some kind. She had said she was going to try, but remember, with the 3-hour time difference, she's kind of in the middle of her day. And I have no idea what happened to Jamie. So the youth ambassadors thing at this point, there's a couple things that I'm gonna leave some of these discussions until after Mark has done his thing, because there's exciting news on many of these fronts. But let's just say that we are very keen on looking forward to not just the exchange with youth with Murayama getting started again next year, although that's always been a prime focal point of ours. In fact, it was the very first one we ever did. And we're looking forward to getting that going again. But it looks like there's some real opportunities with both Harrogate and Arras. 2 points to consider, just because I'll forget them if I wait till the end, because I'll be so excited about the stuff Mark's talking about. The first one is that I have met with an arts group in town. And as you know, Harrogate runs a youth music festival in the spring, usually around Easter. And I've had a conversation with Michael Newby, and he's excited about this. And I've had a conversation with their music director, but she's setting me up with the overall artistic director of a thing called Moving Arts. And the idea would be of taking a group of them. I went to their senior closing performance about a month ago, along with Shannon, and they did a great job. And they're literally just closing out their junior performance. So it's sort of the phrase they use is the triple threat. They do basically singing, dancing, and theater, musical theater, and they bring it all together. It's quite spectacular, actually. So the idea is that they are very excited at the possibility of going to Harrogate and participating in this. And we're going to have another meeting with them. They wanted to complete their season first, which was not upsetting, but disappointing to me, because I'm keen. And now suddenly I have to wait till June 20th. But I understand that their focus point is obviously on the performances that are ending their season. So that is coming forward, and I'll give you more information about that. Given over the summer hiatus, what I may do if things develop and I get excited and don't want to wait, I'll probably just take advantage of our emails and simply send out a blast from time to time so that you can be aware of things as they develop. I mean, no decisions will be made till the fall, but I don't think organizationally we never take motions on organizational matters. All the different subcommittees work on their own, and then we just bring information to the group. So basically, that's what I'm going to be looking for in that. And the second one, Kathy, I keep sending emails to Greg and getting no response. 3 months ago, he said, give me a break. No, he didn't say that. He said, give me a few weeks. We're going crazy. One vice principal was off with something and something else was wrong. But now I'm not getting responses. I'm suddenly worried that he's about to retire or something or whatever. Can you perhaps just nudge him and find out if he's interested in having a conversation about any of this?
I will nudge him and ask him. I know it has been an insane year for admin this year. I've tried to approach them to talk to them about whatever, and I can't get a word in edgewise. They're like, I'm sorry, I've got to go. I got big things happening. They've even brought in a spare admin to try to help. I was supposed to be evaluated this year. It never happened because they're too busy to do it, which is not a bad thing. But it's just, I know I can appreciate he's so busy, but I will give him a nudge and say, is this a conversation we're able to have at some point?
And it doesn't need to be a long one. It could just be over the phone if he wants. It's just something like, is there an interest for next year or not? Especially since you have at least one, maybe two younger teachers that initially were keen and they haven't heard from us. And nothing kills enthusiasm for a program more than silence. Yeah. So before they get off doing other things, it would be positive if we could at least have a touch base on that. Okay.
Yep, will do. Thanks.
Let me know. Thank you very much. All right. So really and then the global one, I do want to tell you, Global's been doing a couple things and he's not, no one's here to actually take this message, but I've said it very clearly everywhere I've gone. In a big speech I made yesterday and through a bunch of emails and things today. I have to tell you, Jeff Toole and his teacher team have done the most remarkable job in keeping Global alive during COVID. And I'm singing their praises wherever and whenever I can, because the carrot has always been the travel. But what they've done is they've compensated as best they can by doing this wide range of stuff. So since we last met, just in the last month, they ran a Cuba week that involved them. We were actually able, using modern technology, to connect with Cuba. And they did a couple lectures and they put on a dance performance for us and music performances. They brought some of their old students back to the university to do all of that. In addition to that, they had some speakers into the classroom that had some experience with Cuba, including two Cuban immigrants, or refugees, I should say. And then I went in, but the other thing they did is that they did a big thing of going to Toronto for a day, and they went to a Cuban cultural event at a restaurant that set up the entire restaurant was given over to them to experience the food and the music and all the rest of that. And then they also went to the Cuban consulate in Toronto and had a major thing set up. So they spent an entire week doing that, and all of that was set up by Jeff and his team. And then yesterday, something I'd never even heard of before, but it's really cool. There's something called the Governor General's Leadership Tour. And don't ask me a lot about that, except that a group of about 30 people from all over Canada, but none from Ontario, came, and the global class put on about a 2-hour performance that included, I babbled for a few minutes about the origins of the program. And you'll all be so proud of me. My time limit was approximately 5 minutes, and Jeff congratulated me for staying under 10. So it was a step forward for me. But then they went on, and the best part was there were 12 to 15 former students going all the way back to the very first year of the program that made speeches about the significance of what Global had meant, like when they were in Global, and what it meant, the skills they took forward, and how it had affected their lives and the careers they're in. And so Patrick Watson zoomed in from Ottawa and got a brilliant speech there, and a bunch of others. Somebody that's in the military. I know our military members will be impressed that Lieutenant Andrew Casey, a graduate of the Royal Military College, is now in Brandon, Manitoba. with his regiment, and he zoomed in and talked about the significance of Global to his career. There were all kinds of people doing all kinds of incredibly wonderful things. Kieran was there and spoke eloquently about the significance all of this had to some weird discussion about dark matter, black holes, to the point where Jeff and I turned to each other and asked if we were now part of a Big Bang Theory episode. But it was cool. My only point in telling you all of that is that Global doesn't exist without this committee and without each of you in your own way. And the reality is that you have every right to be not only fully aware, but incredibly proud of that type of thing. I wandered through the crowd afterwards and literally offered my assistance through the Youth Ambassadors International program to basically help them build things in their own communities, wherever they are. And there were people there from the Prince Rupert, Prince George, British Columbia, all the way over to St. John's, Newfoundland, and many points in between. It seems as if all the provinces were represented. It was a great day, and it was an extremely impressive performance all across. And the Global program itself not only ran it, but the kids made presentations and did skits and things like that. So anyway, it doesn't hurt to take a minute or two to sort of luxuriate in the pride that we should all feel in something that we've all worked hard to develop over the years. So leaving it at that, but that's sort of a synopsis of where we are with Global and Youth Ambassadors. One last thing I should tell you, not really IRC related, but you'll be pleased to know that Youth Ambassadors International felt sorry for the COVID Globals, which are the 3 classes that didn't get to go anywhere. So we're running private trips during holiday times next year for as many of them as can get their lives together and organized to go. March break for the grade 12s and reading week for the university ones. But so that's where we're trying to compensate. All right. So at this point, unless you have any questions about Global Youth Ambassadors, seeing none. Oh, yeah, Tammy.
Just so you know, I have the bookmarks from.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they look really, really nice. I know this was Shannon's thing, but they look really, really nice.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how we get them, but can you put aside enough that everybody in the committee can have a couple?
Yeah, there's 4 different ones, like with the different relationships, and then they've all got the flags on the back with the same.
How many did we end up ordering?
I'm not sure. I got a box here of them, so I'm not quite sure how many was ordered.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
Well,
Tammy, are you at home or at City Hall?
City Hall.
Oh, okay. Bring some up to upstairs. We have a meeting at
sure.
6:45. I'd love to have some. Yeah, right away.
Okay,
That's
if
awesome.
Dave
Sure.
finishes the
Yeah,
meeting
once
early,
this
I
is
can do
over,
that.
yeah, bring them up. Thanks. We should bring
All
Just
right.
for you.
well, and
Okay.
actually,
all
I
of City
think-
Council. All of Council will take them, I'm sure. I'd love
And
to
I
throw
think-
them to them.
And I think everybody here is going to want some as well. So put at least aside enough for us to get. And then I agree with Barry, get some up there, put some in the mayor's office, and then Shannon will figure out what the rest of them for. All right. So now I believe it's time for sorry, another hand. Sorry, Lou. Yep.
No, will there be enough to put in the gift cupboard?
I'm not sure how many were ordered because there's
Yeah.
4 different ones. So I don't know how many were ordered of each.
Right.
So,
We'll check when Shannon gets back. All right.
yeah.
And we'll make sure to let you know.
Yeah.
And I can't move on without pointing out to Tammy, this is another really good argument for chatty agendas or a chatty minutes. So minutes could
Yeah.
actually tell us what happened. Sorry, that's been a 20-year-old argument between bureaucracy and me. All right, so moving ahead, Jean-Maurice, over to you.
So German Canadian Club update. I'll start with that. The German Canadian Club of Barrie still exists. We filed our tax return for last year. We've paid the accountant firm of Powell Jones. We haven't met at all this year, but we're looking forward to in September when the Germans come from Zweibrücken to getting the club membership a little bit involved with some of the planned activities. Normally, the club would break in July and August anyway, and people up until now haven't been very keen on getting together. The average age of the club is quite senior, and so they were nervous about getting together in close quarters. But come September, we think things should move ahead. I should let you know that the other club in the area that we used to deal with or have joint exercises with was the German Canadian Club in Midland. And I've been advised since I got back from Germany that they sold their property, dissolved the club, and the sale of the property that they had in the Midland area wasn't, the proceeds of the sale wasn't enough to pay the outstanding debts that the club had accumulated. So the Midland Club is no more, and they're still trying to deal with the aftermath of extensive debts. The Barrie Club is in a good situation. We have money in the bank. It's invested. We pay our bills and we file our taxes, but unfortunately we haven't been meeting. So hope to change that in September. German twinning, of course, the 25th anniversary of the twinning happened on the 7th of May. I won't say very much about that because I think Mark and Patty have a planned presentation, and so the other members of the delegation that was in Germany can join in and add their comments. The reciprocal visit from the Germans is still scheduled for the 4th of September, which is the Sunday of the Labor Day weekend. The official delegation staying until the 11th of September, and the tourist group staying until the 14th. So I would ask at this point everyone to make a note of the 6th of September, which is the Tuesday. It's the day after Labor Day, Monday. And we've made arrangements. We've booked some time at City Hall, and we're going to have a function service hybrid concert on the 6th in the evening at the West Side Evangelical Lutheran Church here in Barrie. So that's a very big day, the 6th of September. And the other date that I would ask you to mark in your calendar is Saturday, the 10th of September, which is the evening when we'll do the farewell function for the official delegation. And so the members of the committee, you'll need to mark that in your calendar so that you can, if you're available, you can attend that function. So that's all I have right now. I'm still working with Christina Brunner and the Lord Mayor Marald Wosnitza on the itinerary, and Bill from our committee and Bunty are also heavily involved in helping out with the itinerary and travel plans. And the other announcement I'd like to make is that we have another individual joining the German twinning committee to come on as a member. And some of you may already know him. He's a Barrie resident. His name is Hans Etzel, E-T-Z-E-L, Hans Etzel. He's a graduate of Royal Roads and the Royal Military College of Canada. I think he graduated in 1968. He's a retired colonel from the Royal Canadian Air Force. He's a former air attaché from Canada to Germany when I believe the embassy was still in Bonn. He's an active volunteer in a number of organizations, but the main activity, he's a volunteer with the Barrie Power and Sail Squadron. And I have to admit, I don't know a lot about that organization, but he's been involved with them for quite a long time. And he teaches sailing and all the stuff you need to be able to get out on the lake and charge around in your in your speedboat. He's a member of the West Side Evangelical Lutheran Church here in Barrie. He has a leadership role in the parish council, and for a number of years he's been actively supporting the German Canadian Club and the twinning activities, albeit as a sort of an ex officio, and he's sort of helped us out with and the British twinning as well, by virtue of making with the pastor making their church available to us for the Tuit youth band for their concerts and for German concerts and German activities in the fall. So he's very keen to come on board and to participate. And I'm really looking forward to having him at the next meeting. His name again, Hans Etzel. And I think that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are questions about anything. But at this point, Mark, I'm not sure when you're coming on board. If you're coming on now or you're.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
As soon as we answer the questions, he's up next. I see Lou.
Yeah.
Jean-Maurice,
Yes.
is that the gentleman that you brought to the flag raising today?
No, that's not him. No. Hans
Okay.
Etzel is you've probably seen him at some of the at the concert with the Tuit. He was there. We were busy trying to figure out what we were going to say to the fire marshal when he asked us why we had exceeded 250 people in the
Right.
church. So
Right.
yeah, but
Okay.
yeah, he's you'll know him when you see him because like Bill and Rob Warman, he's one of these 6'4" individuals and very tall and looks like a colonel. So very decent,
Great.
very decent man. And yeah, he's keen, and I'm really happy that he's coming on board.
See, back in my father's day, the fighter pilots all had to be short to fit in the damn planes back in World War II.
That's right.
Obviously, these guys aren't fighter pilots, or they've changed the planes significantly since then.
No, they weren't pilots, but you're right, Dave, about that. And even today, there's a restriction because if you're too tall, as you eject, you risk shearing off your legs in the exit of the airplane. So
Okay,
yeah,
well.
that's why you need to be shorter. So.
Well, you and I would be fine under those circumstances. All right. So moving along, Mark, it's yours.
Okay, so Tammy, what do I have to do here to share the screen?
There should be a share button on your,
Yeah.
yeah, just to click your share screen
Okay.
and select the right option there.
Select the right screen, Mark.
Yeah, no, I'm just, why isn't it showing up? I had them. Yeah. Can you see it?
No,
No. Just a minute here. It should be there. Oh, there we are. Okay, now you should see it.
There you go.
yes, we do.
Okay, so anyhow, what I thought I'd do is just put a bit of a presentation to show the trip, and then John Maurice and Bill and Bunty jump in if there's anything you want to add to this. But I just thought we would show some of the things that we did, the people we met, and the initiatives we took as we went throughout the trip. When we arrived in Germany the first evening, we spent at our school where our global students are. So Helmholtz Gymnasium. So that was pretty exciting to meet with the people that actually work with our global program in Canada. And then the next morning was our first most important function, which was the Wreath-Laying Ceremony, which is a memorial to the Canadian military that served in Zwei from 53 to 69. So the first picture on the left, there's some honor guard from Ramstein, but there's our group. And there's two people you might not recognize. The tall one is Elias, who sings with King Edward Choir, and Dan, who is plays piano and organ and every instrument that he could get his hands on in Europe. So it was pretty neat. John Maurice and Bill were able to, with the group in Germany, to get them into different cathedrals and access to these instruments. So it's pretty outstanding to have the young guys with us. They kept us grounded. And the next picture is actually a wreath laying at the first site in the graveyard. And then this is the actual monumental stone for the grave. And then these are a lot of just the graves and they were decorated with a Canadian flag and a rose. One thing that's important to note is in the cemetery, it's 147 children of Canadian soldiers that are buried in this cemetery. So it was very humbling to actually participate in the ceremony, but it was well done. And then we moved on to a religious ceremony at the chapel of the Nardini Hospital, which is run by nuns. And there's at the top is Dan and Elias with I can't remember her name, John Maurice, if you can help me there.
Sister Monica, 93 years old.
Yes. And I didn't want to put a million pictures in, but she still controls the organ in the church. And she had an engineer develop an automatic organ player that she programs with her music, and it actually plays the organ. It was pretty neat. And they sang. Dan sang 4 or 5 songs. It was really pardon me. Dan played it, and Elias sang. And then this young chap, he's 14, played the harp in the ceremony. And then there's our favorite mayor, Merold, giving opening welcome remarks. And there's our group at the church service. So that's
Fritz. That was actually the next morning, Mark, at the Duke's. That was the next morning in the Duke's chambers.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So it ties in Fritz on the far left. The next person to Fritz is Hans, who was the mayor of the day that signed the twinning agreement. And then, I don't want to go through all the people, but that was basically the group. Then we did a tour at the airport where actually where it basically all began. And why I'm showing these two is that the airport's gone through a transition over the years. It's now a large car testing strip where they test safety on vehicles. But this is a simulator that they created or had built, and it's a training facility for the fire department. And they gave us an absolute full tour of the engine on fire and how they put it out. And then that's on the right, it's a fire inside, emulating a fire in the cabin of an aircraft. And these firefighters were active and had all their equipment out and stuff. It was really kind of an outstanding. But they went from as low as 6 employees. Now I think they're over 30 some employees in the airport. So it's a going concern, and people come from various parts of Germany to take their fire training at the Zweibrücken Airport. Anything else, Bill, that you want to add on that?
No, I thought it was outstanding. I don't know whether you want to mention that Elias took advantage of the Lord's Mayor's kind offer to jump out of a serviceable aircraft. I think he said it in jest and realized that when Elias jumped all over it, if I can use that expression, all of a sudden he became the center of attention and almost put us behind for the totem pole dedication. So
I was thinking of liability, so I didn't picture it.
Well, thank goodness for Dan, who also spoke German, because he helped to meet with them to do the training and preparation for the jump.
Yeah.
But it was a great tour. And it's neat to see the evolution of, from war days to such a proactive and a positive thing they're doing at this airport. It's truly outstanding, as Bill said. And then it was the Rose Garden dedication of the totem pole, and they also have a bench in honor of the Barry group. So it's kind of neat. You're seeing a maple tree, the totem pole, which has been restored, and the bench all in an area with the stone and the commemoration to Barry. And so that ceremony took place in the afternoon. They actually have a dedicated Miss Rose Garden, who became a friend of the group, especially the young guys. And you'll see these fellas, they were in Barrie we saw them on their last trip to Barrie, and they played at the ceremony.
We'll be
then-
coming back again in September too.
Okay, great. So, and I mean, it's just such a pleasure to watch them perform and do what they do. And then there's all of us again with the bench and the totem pole and the monument and the Canadian and German flag and everybody there together at the ceremony of the Rose Garden. So another like outstanding afternoon. And then this was fun. The first is we got to go to a concert held by the Black Sea Cossacks at the Alexander Church. And it's really neat because the majority are Ukrainian Russians. And before the concert, they gave a little bit of a speak about what's going on in Ukraine and stuff. They actually sang 3 songs in Ukraine. One was Our Father, which I sang every day in church when we went. And so it was very, very moving and emotional. And we were very fortunate. And they had us sit in the absolute front row of the church. Stephanie had that arranged to make sure that we sat in the front row at the concert. So it was a really memorable evening. And that's all I can say. It was outstanding. These guys are good. And their 3 musical ensemble. And then we got to enjoy the opening ceremony of the street festival at the Alexanderplatz. And that's the first time in 3 years that they've been able to get in the square a street festival going. And so there's a few of us, and there's Merold doing the welcome with Miss Rose Garden. And there's the band that we've seen here as well. And I believe some of them are coming in September. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so they kicked off the show, and then the whole day was just street buskers and all kinds of vendors, and it was fun. It was a lot of buskers, and it was just a lot of fun. And then we did a tour of the museum. John Reese gave us the tour, and it was just another outstanding day. One thing that was neat is in actually one of the beer garden dispensaries, you actually had the mayor and councillors divvying out the beer. That was kind of fun to watch. You've got the mayor of Zweibrücken actually working his tail off, pouring beer, and the councillors handing it out. So it was another like memorable full day. Then we went off to Mainz, which is to us like our provincial parliament. And there's our group in front of their parliament, and that's inside their renovated city hall. And then there's just some scenes of Mainz, which they argue with, I guess, with Trier, who's the oldest city. They're pretty close, but these are very ancient cities. And we toured a lot of their churches, and the boys got to touch a few instruments. And then we went off to Trier the next day, which is reputed as the oldest city in Germany. And we went to the Porta Nigra. And I know, Bill, you went up there with the young guys.
Yeah.
Up to the top. And then this picture on the right was important for us, because when we came as chaperones with the global program years ago, on a trip to Thiers, Dave gave the students some time to explore on their own. And this those tents or the umbrellas, we had a beer with Dave way back when we did the chaperone. So it was kind of fun to actually go there and have a beer on cheers to Dave when we were in Trier. And then that night when we got back, we actually went to the Lord Mayor's Merold's house for dinner. And it's kind of fun in that his house is totally under renovation, and yet he had no problem inviting us all. And they put on a fantastic spread of rouladen and all kinds of goodies. And, you know, it just shows you the quality and the type of people we're dealing with in our twinning. I mean, just, you know, I don't know how many people, when you have that much chaos in your life going on, would still invite everybody over and invite you to the dinner. And then this was the last day. We had some free time before the goodbye party. But what I wanted to point out is they have the Barrie sign, a street sign in Zweibrücken. So we did take the picture of the sign, and that's something we definitely have to work on as we move forward with our city. We need to get our sister cities a sign somewhere in a new development.
Here, here.
Yes. John Maurice?
Yeah, I just an aside to that, but my brother Marcel, who was stationed in Goose Bay, I took him to the airport the other day, and he says to me, "Did you know that there's a Zweibrücken crescent in Goose Bay, Labrador?" And I said, "I didn't." He said, "Yeah, it's actually at the airport, and it's one of the addresses in Goose Bay, and it's called Zweibrücken Crescent." And apparently their local emergency response people don't have an issue with the spelling of Zweibrücken. But
that's outstanding.
But anyway, there is a Zweibrücken Crescent in Labrador. But like you point out, we have a Barrie Straße in Zweibrücken. We have a Harrogate Crescent in Barrie here. And you're right. We do need to think about naming a street, a crescent, a park, a square, whatever, but to pay homage to 25 years of twinning. So yeah.
Okay, and then we had our goodbye dinner at an outdoor cafe, and the last picture on the right is two people that literally worked their tail off, and that was Christina and Nadine. Nadine will be taking over, I guess, from the German Canadian Club in the near future, correct, JM?
Yeah, I think they're going to have some elections in the fall. I'm not quite sure how that's going to turn out, but Stephanie is retired from the city as of the 1st of September, and I think she'll if Nadine succeeds her as the president of the German Canadian Club, she'll have her mom very close by to help her,
to guide
her out with that. So.
And then Christine was absolutely outstanding for us. I mean, she made sure we were comfortable and made sure our driver was, I tell you, you couldn't ask more from a person like Christine. So, and she'll be coming to Barrie, so we can't wait to see her when she comes in September. Now we move on to Arras, and Arras was very, very interesting. They were so well prepared for our arrival, and many thanks to Dave for setting up the intros. But they absolutely, they met us at the train, and Laurent picked us up and got us in the hotel, and he had everything on a schedule and clockwork. And so when we first got there, we were introduced to a fellow by the name of Francois, and he's a counselor for heritage and archaeology. And he's actually got his signature on 2 heritage sites in the city of Arras. So it's very interesting talking with an individual like this that's done that much to preserve the heritage of the city. And as you walk through, this is actually at a parkade, but they still have signs up from our visit in 2017, which is really, really neat. And Trudeau was there, and you know, you'll see these throughout the city in different locations, but it's neat to see that Canada is really well respected in the city of Arras. And that's just from the bell tower, a picture of the main square, so that you just get an idea that like Zweibrücken, they have a central, well, they actually have 2, but the smaller one with the bell tower is actually where all the activity happens. And this is their weekly market. And these are people we met, and I'll have more names for you, but we had a meeting in the actual city building And then we continued our meeting at lunch, a working meeting. And we do have very strong contacts that we're going to move forward with. The lady in the green dress is going to be very strong. The gentleman sitting beside her is the director of sports, and he has an interest also in pursuing the rugby and the sports angle with an exchange. And then there's some others, and I'll have some names for you as we move forward. But we actually ended up having 3 working meetings with the counselors in Arras, and they said, yep, 2023, we got to get something going. They're putting funds together to make sure they understood plane-to-plane hosting, they get the billeting, and they're really excited about getting something going. Especially, they have a group that's a group of students that would love to start it off with coming to Canada, and they really have expressed an interest in visiting Baseborden, the college, Honda, Innovative, as we talk through these things, and they definitely want to have time with the Indigenous community. They really felt that they see a lot about what we're doing with reconciliation, and they really feel that would be an awesome event. And then the next morning we met with the mayor, and he's 4 off the left, and this is in the square. So we met with him and a couple of the councillors, and you'll see some of the other people. Then we went to Vimy Ridge, and so of course you've seen the Bugle Boy and our flag, which is the entrance to the tunnels underground, and then the monument. And again, they were so well prepared, we actually got a private tour with the director, who is with Veterans Affairs Canada. He's been there 8 years, and he gave us a personal guided tour of Vimy. And there's the backside of Vimy, and we got to place some of our Canadian flags at the grave of the unknown soldier. And we actually took flags everywhere we went. Every cemetery we visited, we actually were able to put some flags with respect to Canada. And this is, we got to go underground, and we toured the tunnels of Vimy and also the trenches. And then in Arras, and we didn't know this before we went, but Arras is the headquarters for the Commonwealth Graves. And that's where every tombstone, whether it goes to Harrogate or to New Zealand or Australia or to the ones in Canada, every headstone, Caribbean, every headstone is actually made there. And we got to tour by the director of the Commonwealth Graves. And there's explanations, but this is a Canadian grave, and all the emblems. It'll come at Harrogate. And then one of the things about Arras is they have in the city center itself, under the main square, there's 12 kilometers of underground tunnels that some go as low as 20 meters deep, where soldiers lived, and that's how they coordinated the surprise attack. So they were coordinated between these underground tunnels and Vimy Ridge, and they call it the surprise attack on the Germans. So it's quite a history lesson on how the whole thing unfolded. And we got to go down in the tunnels. There's 2 sets. There's under the main square, and then on the other side of the city, there's the Wellington quarry, which has again another. And you can see on the picture on the right, I mean, soldiers literally slept in these bunks.
The quarry was built by the New Zealand because of their quarries in New Zealand. So it was mainly in New Zealand's, and it was quite incredible how they described how they had to build it.
Yeah. And it's all this stone you see here, the white stone, that's chalk. So they chipped it out of chalk. It's quite interesting. I don't know how the heck it stood up. And then this is our goodbye party. Working lunch again, not party. So our farewell meeting. So Madame Odd, who's going to be very instrumental in some of the things we do. She's a deputy mayor. And then Arnaud, who is going to be, there's Laurent and Arnaud are going to be our main two to gets. So they're going to be the people that we work on. Yeah, I don't know if that works.
Oh, maybe not. Okay.
But, and then we had Nazem, who's in charge of military affairs. But basically this group and the other lady that I pointed out earlier, they will be our main go-to contacts. And we've been exchanging emails, and now once we decide how we want to format everything. But these are the folks, and I'm happy to share this so that you can see the faces to the names as we communicate. And then we're off to Harrogate. And you've seen this picture already. This is our meeting at City Hall. And again, hats off to Michael Newby, but Michael basically set everything up for us. And this was the first morning we had our meeting at City Hall. And so on the far left is Mark Garrett, who's the new head of rugby. So he'll be key in setting up. He's got 3 sons that play rugby. They definitely want to get something going for 2023. They've even talked about having a 3-way, where Canada and France come and they have a 3-way rugby tournament with the 3 sister cities. And then beside them are Paul and Mary Fenimore, and I think some of you have met them. They've been to Barrie for a very short time. I know, Bill, you took them around. But they are, Mary is the treasurer for the city of Harrogate. So she's the one that advises that they have put some funds together, and I will pass a motion, but they are willing, they would like to have some, from someone from Barrie to come and work on the rugby program very soon. So that's something.
Can I just interrupt? I have a planning committee. It's Barrie Ward. I have a planning committee meeting at 7, so we're going to have to leave. So
okay,
sorry. And we hosted the Fenimores a couple of years ago. We're still in touch with them regularly. They were delightful. So I hope to get together with them. And in fact, I got an email from Mary today. So
that's awesome.
Anyways, okay. Sorry, I'll see you at next meeting. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Barry. And then there's Michael, and then the lady beside Michael, her name is Rosie. And she is the head of their twinning with Italy, but because she's done, like they've just got everything going now as well. She's going to help to make sure that everything happens. And then most of you know Colin Gibbs, and he's the president of Tuit Band. In fact, he sent congratulations off today for our Sir Robert Barry Day. And then there's the mayor and the mayoress, Janet and Trevor Chapman. So it was a good meeting. They have some funds ready to go. They agree that the billeting and plane to plane is the way to proceed. And so it's just a matter of us. I will be getting an email off tomorrow now that we've had our meeting tonight, and we'll get the ball rolling. And then Harrogate also has, it's called Stonefell, but Commonwealth Graves, which I showed you in Arras. And Patty's laying a Canadian flag, and this is really neat. This is the grave of a Canadian soldier, Flying Officer William Porrett of Barrie. So, and Michael, knew to take us there. He said you'd be excited because I know this one will be important to you. So Patty put a nice Canadian flag in front of his grave. And I can't remember who was there earlier, whether it was Jean Maurice or there still are a few Canadian flags from the last visit at the gravesite.
Wow, so, that's a long time ago.
I know, but it was, it's so neat to see that, those flags are still there, and Michael made sure that we saw them, and so I just wanted to point that out, that it was.
I think we took 600 flags with us or something like that, didn't we, JM?
We took something like that. Yeah, a large number of flags, and then they were spread out throughout the cemetery. And there's only 988 burials in that Stonefall cemetery, and of course 666 of them are Canadians.
Yes.
The New Zealanders that are also twinned with Harrogate, the borough of Harrogate, They have 23 war dead in the Stonefall. We have 666.
Yeah. Outstanding. But it's just so well. It's neat when the lady that talked to us about how they coordinate and how the finance and everything goes. It's just so neat to see that these things are being preserved and well maintained. I mean, as you can see, I mean, the grass is trimmed and it's just so well done. The Commonwealth Graves was a highlight to go see them in the two countries. And then we just had to put this in because we did go to the Royal Historical Gardens and we had our official British tea. And this is the Four Seasons. It's by an artist and it's all done, if you can imagine, out of paper mache.
Wow.
So, and you can see, like where Patty and I are standing, the size of these things, and you know they're not going to last forever because, like I say, they're made out of paper mache. But the historical gardens are beautiful, and you know, that was our first real, truly British tea. So it was a lot of fun. And then, of course, one of the highlights, obviously, was we got to have a personal tour by Sir Thomas. So the first thing is we went to All Saints Church where Sir Robert Barry is buried, and so that's just inside, and I just did a close-up so that you can see, and he's in a tomb underground in the church. And then there's Sir Thomas, who took us on a personal tour. They had rain the night before, and that's the only time we had rain on the entire trip. And they've got a lot of work being done to the roof of the castle. It was leaking in the room upstairs where they keep the shields and the armor and all of that. They literally had pails, and they even had a kiddie's wading pool to collect the water. But he was determined to. He said, "I'm taking you up, and that's all there is to it." He's the boss, so we got to go see it all. So, but the grounds are spectacular, and on the grounds, this is kind of neat. This tree that I'm showing, these seeds were brought by Canadians to Harrogate in the 1860s. And John Maurice, you might be more up on the history of this, but I found that intriguing that there was a connection back to the 1860s where we actually have Canadian presence of trees.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
The grounds there are quite amazing, that's for sure.
Oh boy, yeah. Like I say, I've got like hundreds of pictures, but I just wanted to put out some of the highlights. And then, of course, we went off to the Fountains Abbey.
Fountains, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
beautiful.
And that's, I mean, it's breathtaking. I mean, Michael made us walk the entire grounds and the fountains. So, 20,000 steps were not a problem, apparently, on our Fitbits. But the picture on the right is the actual cathedral of the fountain, and you just get an idea how large this was. And then again, there's just a couple more shots. There's a shot of the water gardens, and of course it went quite a ways. And then here's the Abbey again from another perspective, but very, very beautiful. And then this is just to show in Harrogate, and some of this was in Ripon, a little village not too far, but still within the Harrogate area, but all getting decorated for the Platinum Jubilee of the Queen. So it was kind of neat going through these little streets and seeing everybody getting ready for the
all those little flags. A lot of that was all either knitted or crocheted.
Yeah, they love their bunting. They really do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was outstanding, and they were somewhat embarrassed that Harrogate hadn't done too much, but by the time we were getting ready to leave, all of a sudden some flags and things were going up in Harrogate. But a lot of these little communities had, they were getting ready for the celebration. And then I had to put this picture in, first of all, was for Maury. We had to do a little shopping, and so they took us to their favorite shopping store, which would be like a Zayre's, and it's called Morrison's. So there you go, Dave. It's all just for you. And then we went also to the Knaresborough Castle.
Knaresborough, yeah, lovely.
Knaresborough. Yeah, it's gorgeous. And we walked all the way down and walked the river. But again, the history and how they're preserving the ruins is pretty neat. And then this was the last slide. And I just put that one in to show that Michael and we actually did do some work to make sure that we're getting everything done. And this was our goodbye party with Clive and Mary, Rose, Paul, and Michael. So that's it, Tammy.
That's great, Mark and Patty. Thank you very much. There's a motion that needs to go on the floor right now. Tammy, could you read it? And I believe we already have movers and seconders set up for it. Tammy?
Yeah, it's coming. Okay, the IRC approved an expenditure up to $5,000 to facilitate the potential travel of 2 members in an effort to organize our first rugby exchange.
And it's moved by Mark and seconded by Bill, I believe. Okay, I'd like to speak to that for a moment if I could. So basically, 2 things the committee needs to know right off the bat. Mark mentioned it earlier. They're prepared. They put money aside to pay for our flights over. That's nice, but that's not how we operate. And I don't want to get on that merry-go-round about who's going to suddenly be more generous than the other one in terms of who's paying for what. We'll pay our own way there with many thanks and a great appreciation for their gesture. And Mark, please include that in your email to them.
Yep.
But we'll pay for it. And the number that I selected is quite honestly through Youth Ambassadors International as I start to start organizing some other trips. I don't know whether anyone else has checked recently, but airfares have gone ballistic and travel expenses are expanding all the time. Remember that this is an upset limit. We don't have to actually go that distance. I just want to make sure, because remember, we don't meet in the summer. And thanks to a decision made by a bunch of people that were not elected, phone votes were outlawed about 10 or 15 years ago. So I want to make sure that we have the money to move ahead with this. If Rick and Lou or whomsoever are prepared to go at some point over the summer, and our good folks in Harrogate are prepared to have them, then I want us to be prepared to buy the tickets and put them on a plane and not worry about having to figure out the money. And remember, I've had my knuckles wrapped frequently in the past for coming in with expenditures that were not pre-approved, that have already been made, and now we're looking to get reimbursed. So we've kind of come to this process. So that's why I want to pass the motion now. And like I said, with good fortune, they won't come anywhere near spending that amount. But let's at least make sure that we don't have to come back later and play games with it. So that's why the motion is being put forward to you. And if you have any questions, I'll take questions. If not, I'll take the vote. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Any opposed? Don't see any. All right, so that's been passed. Thank you very much. I'd also, while I have your attention, I realize we've gone over time. And actually, this is shocking because so much is happening and we're so excited with the end of COVID and moving along that this is now the longest IRC meeting that I've ever attended. So this is in many ways good, and in other ways, we've lost a couple people, but so what, we still have quorum and we'll power through. I did want to mention 2 things with regard to this moving forward. One of the other reasons that on the motion you just passed is that I think it's important that we strike while the iron's hot. In other words, if they have a new president of rugby who is super keen, and given the months of inaction that Rick and Lou have dealt with, much to their frustration, I mean, I think the sooner we move on this, the better, and let's sort of get this guy excited, because it's been my experience that silence kills enthusiasm. So let's move ahead with that as quickly as we can. Moving back to Arras for 30 seconds, 2 ideas just to let you know about. As I mentioned with Kathy earlier, they are one of the new homes of the French immersion program. And so it would be really good to, and I know they have a couple teachers that are keen, and they've got one of the best principals in the system. Greg Brooker. And so I'm hopeful that that can move ahead. However, I also have a fallback plan. They've also mentioned, Mark came home and told me that they were quite excited about the history components and all the rest of that. And so I'm going to, once again, unless you stop me, which you have every right to do, but at some point over the next few months, probably before the end of this month, I want to have a meeting with either the director of the Board of Education, John Dance, or his deputy, Don Stevens. Don Stevens is a former principal of mine. Her children have been in Global. And John Dance, I know from the past, he's, I'm not sure how much longer he's there. He's sort of an interim guy filling in until I think he's retiring sometime soon. The plan is that I'm going to suggest, just as they did for the 100th anniversary a couple of years back, I'd like to suggest that we start running an annual history trip for grade 10 students, where we take them for however many days, a week, 2 weeks, whatever works. And they can do Arras, they can do Vimy, they can do Juno Beach, they can, they can do those types of things that become the focal point of their studies. And if they have an interest in it, we can organize it. I mean, the big picture down the road is that every grade 10 high school student in the county, both public and separate, would be entitled to sign up for this trip. But that literally is hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of kids. So we're not there yet. All right. So I think we would start with a selected group, maybe one busload of I don't know, 35 or 40. First come, first serve, divided amongst the schools. The one thing that is controversial that you have to be prepared to accept, and if you're not going to accept it, then we need to rethink how we structure these things, is that if we partner with the school board as we have with Global, the school board is going to insist, and they're absolutely right, that it has to be accessible to students from across the board, which means that we would be organizing something for a kid that's living in Bradford or that's living in Collingwood, and you just have to smile and accept that reality. Mm-hmm. If that's a problem, I kind of need to hear it now from the committee before I do the work, or we accept that reality moving forward and just see it as a part of the overall of the overall picture. When we partner with something that's district-wide, we need to accept that reality. Any objections or problems with that? I don't know what picture you're showing, Lou. Is you're holding up your hand or showing a heart, or what are we doing?
No, zero problem.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So many young people do this weird heart thingy that I've never understood.
Yeah.
So whatever that was. Good. All right. Anything else?
Can I just raise one thing, Dave?
Of course.
Just with our friends coming from Germany in September, they're coming on the 4th, leaving on eventually the 14th, everybody goes. Our first meeting in September actually falls during that time when we're going to be very, very busy, and we want everybody on side, hopefully, attending all the events. Are we going to try and change the date in the meeting, or maybe bring it forward by a week or something like that, so that we can have a meeting as well as entertaining and looking after our friends from Germany?
Tammy, tell me if there's a problem with this, but I don't have a problem in that circumstance holding a meeting the last Tuesday of August, if that's of assistance, recognizing what we have coming forward. Is there some reason why we couldn't do that?
No, there's not.
Okay,
right.
so would that be okay? That would make sense then, Dave. Yes, thank you.
Although, Tammy, because not everybody is in attendance tonight, could you please send out a notification of that reality with a one sentence thing that explains why as quickly as possible, like over the next couple of days, please?
Okay.
All right. And all right. So that's great. Good grab, Bunty. I hadn't even thought of it.
Yeah, okay. Tina had her hand up there, actually.
Who does? Oh, Tina. Yeah. Sorry. Yep. I can't hear you. Turn your mic on.
No, still nothing. Bottom left-hand side.
Attaboy, Rob. Mute her.
Bottom left-hand side.
It's on, she says.
Well, thank you for your contribution. We greatly appreciate your effort.
I think she's going to write it. Hold on.
Oh my God. Wedding.
Okay, so they can't do that.
We have a wedding Starting on August the 20th, going through till the 1st. Jordan, our oldest, is getting married in Halifax.
Well, congratulations. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Wow, thank you.
All she had to do is scream wedding. She's down below me right now. All she had to do is scream wedding, and I would have gotten it.
Apparently, you have some techie work to do with her computer.
Yeah, obviously.
All right. Well, that's unfortunate. So, but I mean, it's unfortunate that you won't be able to attend the meeting. It's obviously not unfortunate that Jordan's getting married. So
Yeah.
anyway, we'll solve all that moving forward. Jean-Maurice, I did have one quick question for you, or maybe it's to Tammy. I just want to make sure that whatever monies, did we do a pre-approval expenditure approval up to a certain amount for them coming here?
Yes, we did. And the amount was $14,000.
Fine. So
Yeah.
because realize, having done the one we just did tonight, we're down to 5 Gs for this budget.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure that we covered all our bases. All right, that's great. Mark, I meant to start with this and I didn't. Thank you very much for putting that presentation together. All right. I mean, it was, I'm sure everybody was fascinated by it. And the truth is, you've done, all of you that went, all right, not the Zweibrücken part, but also Mark and Patty doing the other 2 trips to Arasan and Harrogate. I am so excited with the job that they did, because these places are so pumped for us to be coming engaged with this. And
Yep.
I am just, it's exciting, because literally I was spinning my wheels with Aras. As Lionel and Kathy can tell you, they didn't hear a whole lot from me for the last couple of years now. Most of it was COVID, but even in the startup to it. So they've done a fantastic job getting that started again. So we're going to have a lot of stuff coming forward. We
It'll be busy.
clap, but most of the mics are off. So thank you very much, everybody. 20 minutes overtime. You've all been great hanging in there. Are there any other comments or questions anybody wants to make at this point?
Just one other thing about everybody coming in September. If you could please see if you can possibly help with the hosting and other efforts for September. If you could let Jean-Maurice know, or let me know, so that we can get everything listed. We don't actually have the names yet, but we do need to have names of people who are able and willing to host. Thank you.
Okay, that's easy. Well, Jean-Maurice, give me a shout about that. There's a couple of things we talked about earlier that I'd like to finalize a little bit. I mean, it doesn't have to be tomorrow, but at some point.
Yeah, okay.
And I saw Bill's hand.
Just wanted to say happy Sir Robert Barry Day, everybody. And thank you.
Yeah. Well done. It was really,
except for the weather.
yeah.
Something I should have said at the beginning. Tammy?
That was a Sir Robert Barry project update.
That was it. It went well.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just dropped the agenda again. That's not unusual for me, as you all know. All right. So are we done? Great.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate everyone's attendance and everyone's patience. It's been a great meeting. One of our best and certainly our longest, but for good reasons. So to hell with COVID, we're ready to rock. Thank you very much, everybody. All right.